Hey all, Dave Bryant. This is like take 6. I'm shooting this with a cell phone because it's impossible to do with the laptop. And I keep pushing buttons that I apparently shouldn't be pushing, so we'll try this again. I wanted to give you a little more technical walkthrough of the truck, where we're at, what's going on, with the progress that's actually been made, because tons and tons of progress has actually been made up until this point. The sleeper. We have the sleeper extensions, not bent up, no problems there, they're in real good shape. Undecided if those will go back on. We'll check our final lengths and fifth wheel placement and like that later on. We're a ways away from that. Of course, these old fairing brackets on the top are going to go and get plugged up and do the body work on those. And of course, it needs paint. We do have the upper glass for these Vista windows. But of course those aren't going to go in until after the paint's done, and we need new seals. I have the glass, but I don't have the seals. I know you can't really see in the sleeper, it's so dark in there, but electrically it's all good. The refrigerator still works, factory fridge. The upholstery, everything in there is just great, actually. We had to replace that inside glass door on the sleeper because it was missing when I got it. But other than that, the heater works, the AC's in good shape. All we'll need to do is run new lines from the compressor and the dryer on the new system, whichever way we go with that. This frame, if you look through the photo albums on the Facebook page, you'll see what the bus was and what a mess the yard was for a couple of weeks, dismantling that and getting it back down to this donor chassis. I've got POR 15 on it right now. And that'll get roughed up and painted over. This whole rear end will get rebushed, new shocks. We'll check the rears, and we'll check the ratio on those and do some quick math and see where we're at with that. Of course, brake job, new brake lines. Those of you with a sharp eye will notice that this rear cab mount is still unfinished, and there's a good reason for that. And I'll kind of come forward and explain that to you. This is the 454. This motor and transmission was rebuilt 6,200 miles ago. It made a trip to Texas and back, and then was parked for a considerable amount of time. That's why we ran, in one of the previous videos, we ran a test run on it, and it's all good. So we've got all the paperwork on that, so we shouldn't have any issues with that for a very long time. This drivetrain, motor and transmission, are going to be slid back closer to the firewall of the cab. So that's why the rear cab mount isn't done yet, because we're unsure of where that cross member for the transmission mount will end up ultimately, and we'll tie the carrier or center bearing for the drive shaft into the rear cab mount. But until that's placed back where it belongs, or where it's going to be in the future, we can't do any of that. As you can see, we've reused the factory Kenworth cab mounts onto this new frame. So, and there's the bottom and of course the top of this new HVAC box that we got from Kenworth as part of the seed money that PACCAR gave us to get this started, because the original was basically useless. It was in corrosion, had gotten to it so badly that it was just basically a flake of rust. So they were kind enough to supply some of those parts to get that whole thing buttoned up. As you can see, there's the brake booster. Hydraulic brake booster, and the pedal assemblies inside. That's off a 1979 Corvette, which is more than capable of handling the volume and the braking that this particular vehicle will need. In need of, that one's for mock-up. We'll get a new one, master cylinder, and get the brakes finished up. The next big steps are going to be this independent front suspension is going to be completely taken apart, completely cleaned up, new shocks. This, as you can see, this was fitted with an air assist suspension, which we will redo. It is no longer on there, but when we rebuild it, that system will be back intact. So that'll take some of the shock out of it. And of course, brakes, getting those all rebuilt and cleaned up, painted, all the consumables, so to speak, will be replaced and it'll be put back together. After this front clip of the frame is all cleaned up and painted too, so we're kind of going to end up having to paint this frame in 2 sections because of the stretch later on that we'll have to do to accommodate the sleeper. We're going to integrate these original breather tubes, reuse these Donaldson 15-inch air cleaners as actual air filters. All that piping will be reworked to accommodate this 4-barrel carburetor or EFI, whichever way we decide to go, but we're a ways away from that. As you can see, a lot of the brackets on the firewall are going to come out, get stripped down, repainted, which is, that will come in time. This radiator is Swiss cheese, so we're looking at another one of those. This whole radiator mount is going to be heightened. Width will stay the same, but it'll be heightened. That way things, such as you're looking at power steering and automatic transmission coolers, will be integrated up higher in this, a modified mount. That way we can then install the helper springs and the keeper cables for the hood. And go from there. A little bit of a closer view. A lot of these access panels from the factory on the firewall, those are going to be replaced, cleaned up and painted up in the fire. Everything that can be plugged up in the firewall will be. Once we get the radiator mount, we'll end up building a pretty sizable plate here in the front to tie in the front of the frame rails, the new hood hinge brackets, and accommodate a bumper mount, which of course we'll do all that once we actually have a bumper on hand. This is the new placement for the power steering box. That's the original, so we left the pitman arm in its original length, drag links, everything. That way for future service and replacement, nothing's changed. This truck, of course, will be a blueprint for the trucks that we build in the future, so hopefully using this same C or P30 GM chassis, and you'll be able to go to any General Motors dealership or basically any auto parts store and buy parts to service everything that is GM on this. Steering shaft out of a T600, which is being modified to fit to this rag joint, which most of that work is actually already done too. It was all part of fitting it all together and figuring spaces and leaving all of these original components unmolested, so to speak. That way service will be a lot easier. These front tires, wheels and tires, are actually going to be flipped. They will be mounted on opposite sides of what they are right now, and just to space them out a little bit to help with some of the aesthetic scale issues that we have with the front fenders, meant to accommodate 24/5s and running over the top of the tires instead of the tires sitting in them. These breathers came off an '02 T800 dump truck out of New Jersey, because of course the originals were gone. This one's in good shape. The other one's got a few dents in the can itself, and the cap needs to be replaced. If any of you watching this have a knowledge and some experience with polishing stainless steel, please let me know. If you've got product suggestions and techniques and like that, let me know, because these are going to end up being cleaned up late in the assembly process. Basically one of the last things that gets done. But if you have any tips or ideas on that, let me know. Windshields, both were broken, so those need to be replaced. New windshield seal. The original factory stainless visor was gone, and of course we'll have to get a new center mount for that and replace that visor. We have the original step boxes, battery boxes. These from the factory were polished, not painted, and again, these being aluminum, let me know if you have any tips on how to clean those up, get those polished up, but they're mounted securely and functional at this point in time. Driver's door was missing on this cab, so we got this one from an outfit in Alabama. The only drawback to that is the interior, the window glass itself is badly scratched. So we need new rubbers, felts, and like that on both doors, and window glass on this side. And Kenworth is, I've already checked with them, and by the VIN number, they can remake the original upholstery panel for the inside of this door to match the original, which is in actually very good shape. I know it's dark, but dumb stuff, guys, like, you know, the factory speakers are missing out of the ceiling of the cab. A lot of this stuff in the overhead won't be reused. We left the wiring harness for the clearance lights and the spotlights up there. That won't be replaced. There's no issues with that. And of course the air system for the horns is still there. These gauge panels will be actually remanufactured to accommodate automotive style gauges. Nowhere near as many of them because we won't need as many, but we're going to try to stick with the factory look of the oversized tach and speedometer, and then smaller accompanying gauges. This steering column came out of an 03 T600, same as the steering shaft. Of course, that was missing from, you know, the truck when we got it. We are going to put an 18 circuit automotive style wiring harness and breaker box in this truck. They make them for custom cars. They're relatively inexpensive. They're GM color coded, so service will be a non-issue in the future. This old buddy seat out of a 900A is in there to keep my grandson occupied while he's down here helping. He loves it. He'll sit there, and when I move it over, he'll crank on that steering wheel for hours and not be underfoot and keep him safe. Carpet was destroyed. Both of the original seats, while the seats were in it, both of those were destroyed. It was one of those things, guys, where you know how that goes. When the driver's seat wears out, you swap it over for the passenger seat. So instead of having one good seat, you end up over time with two bad seats. I have the original chrome shifter that we will integrate and modify to fit a floor shifter for this automatic transmission, so it'll look original. There'll be a box built underneath the cab to house the new shifting assembly and linkage. You'll never see it. All you'll see is the stick sticking up in the boot, and we will rig up indicator lights as far as gear placement in the dash. That way it'll pass inspection, because believe it or not, in this state you need to have those. The original wraparound handles we have were in excellent shape. Spotlights on both sides of the cab were unusable. They had been in one position for so long that there was just absolutely no salvaging them. Both of the mirror assemblies, heads and arms are gone. Those need to be replaced, and they need to be the upswept ones that accommodate the 15-inch oversized breathers, just like from the factory. We're going to put a factory style exhaust back on this, so she'll look exactly the way it did as far as a lot of those cosmetics go. And again, we're back to this side of the tractor. So just a quick rundown. We'll do something for fenders on the back of this, flap hangers, something for deck lids. We have to put a fifth wheel unit on this, and a Reese type hitch on the back, which I'll have to fabricate a plate to accept that and tie it into the frame rails. Clearance lights destroyed. This truck from the factory had 4 air horns on the top. There were only 3 when I got it, and none of those were reusable, salvageable. So this is it in a nutshell, guys. I mean, we're talking about a lot of work that's already been done. It's just a matter of coming up with the fundage to buy these assemblies and sub-assemblies to get her to paint. So that's where that's at. This thing really will be a lot of nickel and dime stuff, but it's, you know, they add up. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's ever taken on any kind of project like this knows that. So again, there's all kinds of things like this. This vent window is a piece of plexiglass. We need to replace that. And, you know, of course, the biggie is paint, which I'm working on a couple of different avenues with that, and I think I have that narrowed down so it's considerably more affordable than it would have been. And again, It's paint, it's polish, it's fabricate, it's replace. As far as fitment and fabrication goes, 99% of that is done. Again, we need a plate in the rear to accept a receiver hitch, and I need to make the plate in the front to accept a bumper mount and tie these new hood hinge brackets to. But that will be about it. Even the stretch is pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of being very careful and measuring and fitting and drilling holes to accept the factory sleeper mounts, which we have. That's one of the other things too, is a new sleeper boot between the cab and the sleeper, because of course that original one was wrecked. Before I even disturbed it, it was torn in both corners on the top. So here we are, guys. You know, this is the real deal. This is going forward. We've withdrawn that first amount of money, and to everybody that supported us so far, thank you. We will be onward and upward, getting this thing up on jack stands and getting the front end taken apart, sliding the drivetrain back where it belongs, and then that will come back out real quick. And then it's going to be a matter of, we'll be showing you videos of cleaning, painting, rebuilding, replacing, all kinds of, you know, different things like that, just to get us to the point where when warm weather hits, this will go to a different garage in pieces, get painted, set up, and then come back here. The catch is, lengthwise and especially height-wise, this truck will never fit back into the garage once the stretch is done and once the sleeper's on. So we got to time it so that it's warm weather, and when all of that happens. So again, guys, if you got stainless steel techniques and products, and the same for the aluminum, geez, let me know, because you know I'm not a polisher. So if you guys have got ideas and techniques and like that, please let me know. We need What the Truck Wednesday videos. Any support that you give us is greatly appreciated. It's not, believe it or not, it is about money, but it's not all about money. Support can come in so many different ways for this project, even if it's just, moral support. So thank you for your time. I hope you guys have got a better understanding of what's going on here, and where we're going to go from here. And we will see you, hopefully, in just a few days with more What the Truck videos on Wednesday, and hopefully more progress, actually getting our hands dirty again on